Hey traders, this is Taylor with Top Pick Trading. I want to give you guys your Friday bar by bar. It is Friday, August 2nd, 2024, and we are going to do a bar by bar on our typical 2000 tick ES chart. So let's get started. You'd come in and you start by assessing the price action so far for the day. It looks like we're definitely trending lower, so we'd go ahead and draw what we have through the overnight. It looks like a rather big downtrend right through here, maybe with a break new low already. This bar represents 8 o'clock right in here. So let's get going. You can see we've got the break and new low like I mentioned, and now we're mostly chopping sideways. Appears there's some kind of range in this area. There is an 8:30 news item, several unemployment rate, non-farm employment change, and also the hourly earnings month over month. So we want to be flat a couple minutes before that item. So nothing through here anyway, and here it comes. And you can see it sells off strongly, very strong to the downside. So I draw a new trend here through this news item and wait for it to start to calm down. It looks like this has a break and new low. See, it's chopping lower, well below that EMA, so no trades here. Let's see what happens when we come back to the EMA, keeping in mind that all of our larger downtrends so far have played out. But also keeping in mind that the bias is still downward, so let's see if we can get some kind of retracement and then a trend resumption. We've got this micro uptrend here working. Comes back to the EMA, you get the second entry short here, but it closes above that EMA, and like I mentioned, all your local stuff has played out. So it would have stopped you if you took it. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Pushing higher now. Obviously, it looks like some uptrend in play here. Maybe right here. It looks decent. Coming back to the EMA. Let me make this a little bit clearer. There we go. Coming back to the EMA, you actually get a second entry long here, and you get a pretty good bar. A little bit far from the EMA. Issue with this is we've been so bearish through the overnight. It's not exactly clear if this is an overshoot of this. It could be off this swing or this swing. It also just looks like one leg down. So if the bias was bullish, I think you could take a chance here, but those cons really will add up on you when the overall bias is against you. So I think you got to wait this one out, unfortunately. It would have worked nicely for a scalp. Comes back. So now we've got a break from this trend, dropping sideways. You get a second entry long here, but just with the overall bias, I think you want to wait on this, and it doesn't trigger anyway. Chops lower. Now it appears we've got some little downtrend. Looks like probably a break and new low on that downtrend. Let's see. Get a higher low here, but forms on the wrong side of the EMA. And it does end up working, pushes higher. Got an uptrend here. Could be a little overshoot. It's really just the retest leg of this too, so you could expect just a straight up reversal. Comes back to the EMA, just falls right through. You would draw your micro trend here, maybe this right here. Let's see how this holds. Chopping lower. Pushing back to that EMA. And now you get this second entry short here. This bar is really tempting. It's not so clear. This doesn't fit all that well. So, you know, the local price action is really nice for a second entry short, but kind of going up and down here. It's just not so clear to me. If you took that, you just don't have much room either. Just 1.5. If you took that, I understand, but I think you got to wait personally on something a little bit better. Now we're coming back to the EMA. Let's see if it is something wider, and that actually is fitting pretty well now. So I guess if you assume this wider one was valid, I could see why you took this, but it's just hard for me in real time to not think this is just a break and a leg down. So, but now pretty clearly, if this holds, this channel's valid. And you actually get a second entry short here, a little bit congested, a little bit far from the EMA as well, but right at that key entry point on a lower high. I know we already saw the result there that it works, but I think this is an aggressive trade. That's a possibility. Does hold, works lower. Keeping in mind this overall bias is still bearish, but more locally now it's looking like potential range behavior, but we're in this confirmed downtrend. So, and now the EMA is held, for 2 swings here. Still working lower. This could be a little range here. Notice where we bounce right in this area. We get a higher low here. Now we get really just a continuation of the higher low since this one didn't trigger, but you're still in this downtrend, so I wouldn't take that. It would have worked, but it's hard to know that at the time. Pushing higher now. Comes back to the EMA. You get a little mini higher low, but no setup there, just a first entry. It works, pushes higher. Get a huge retest leg, so at this point you may want to start considering a wider channel. Once that retest leg gets a lot larger than the trend itself, it may just be a wider trend, and you can see that fits decently. Maybe a little bit of an early break here, but probably still will work. And you can see it turns off those highs, so I would consider this valid now. Turns off the high side of this channel, that is. But we also are turning at this range high, so wouldn't surprise me if we just reverse here. And it's still holding. Looking like range behavior. We get a first entry long. This could retest. Let's see if there's room to that range high. And now we get this second entry long here. It looks like your micro downtrend is played out. It really could be seen like a little mini triple test. Tested it once, twice, three, really a fourth test. You get a nice little bar, decent setup bar. There is some congestion there, and that takes away from the trade. Also coming off these range highs takes a little bit away from the trade. But it's probably going to at least push up to this level, so I think you can consider this a little bit aggressive. And now things have changed because you can see the entry bar here does not trigger. And when you're in congestion and that entry bar isn't triggering, that's a cause for concern. So seeing that doesn't trigger, I think I would not consider this trade. If it triggered, you can consider it, but the no trigger there is very concerning in that congestion. So looks like it would have worked. It's unfortunate it didn't trigger. Comes back, you get this lower high right off that range resistance. Pretty tempting, but it's right into the support. This uptrend didn't retest all the way, so there's some conflicting thoughts on this. It's probably going to trap longs there, but it's hard to consider that right into that support level. And it would have worked nicely. Such a nice bar, you figure it's got a good chance regardless. Working lower now. Now we've pushed back, more than 50%, about 2/3 of this uptrend. In range behavior like that, you can consider the retest probably over with. It's not going to try again, but we'll keep an eye on it. Keep it in mind. Seems the predominant pattern is range. Comes back to the EMA here. Pushes higher. No setup here. Gets a little micro break and new high, it appears. Pushes lower again. Just chopping right in the middle. Nothing in here. Bouncing at this level, but still just mid-range. Too hard to trust something like that, especially last time we didn't get rejection here. Doesn't trigger anyway. Just chopping sideways. Get a higher low here, but congested. Bad bar anyway. Obviously, you got this micro downtrend. Didn't draw it, but there you go. It's got a break. New low. Now it's coming back to the support level. Notice we couldn't reach the highs here, but we also didn't reach the lows, so it's just chopping in the middle here. You get this bar, but it's not all that great after that many bears too. You don't want to consider that. Now it's closing below the support level. Coming back, get a first entry. No bar for a second entry. Just chopping sideways, closing a little bit below our previous level. Maybe it's expanding a little bit. It still fits decently well. This little doji bar I wouldn't consider after 2 big bears and that EMA holding for 2 swings here. You get a higher low here, but now you're back into that EMA, forming into the EMA, so no trade there in my opinion. Second entry short here. Let's see if there's something wider. Doesn't fit all that well. I would just play this as a break and a few legs down. I would be keeping an eye on the larger context here. Let's see if anything's coming into play since we traded down so strongly. Let's see. That feels a little bit wide. That actually fits decently well. You can see that news item turned it on the wick. A lot of times that'll happen because it's just such fast spike in volatility that you're not able to close up here because it shoots down so fast. So You know, you got 4 touches here, 5 touches. So this may be valid. Midline seems to be holding pretty well, so we'll keep an eye on this. Probably just want to play the local stuff more anyway, and just keep in mind that the overall bias has been bearish, just because this channel is so large and really not all that steep. So let's get back to the more local stuff. Just chopping sideways here. Nothing through here. It's just hard to know what's happening. Let's wait for some kind of trend to reassume itself. And it looks like we may have one starting now. Let's see. This tighter one looks a little bit better, starting from that lower high. And yes, it appears like it is the one. It could be two-tiered. Not really acting like an overshoot because it didn't immediately shoot back. Still just pushing lower. Everything's far from that EMA. This really could be widened just slightly without a break still. That actually fits pretty well. Coming back to the EMA, let's see if we can get a second entry. And we tick below there for our first entry. Try to make this a little bit bigger. And unfortunately, no second entry, just chops lower. Pushing well to the low side. This looks like it could be the retest leg could be a channel in and of itself, almost like a spike, large spike down in a channel. Yes, and it's holding pretty well. And you can see we're bouncing right at those lows. Let's see if that actually holds true. And yes, it bounces very nicely. 4 bullish bars. So keeping in mind we're coming off that low channel, but this got very bearish here, so it wouldn't surprise me if we make another test down. This spike in channel, this purple one, may want to retest. Let's see what happens at the EMA. And we do push strongly right here. Turning at this level, this looks like some resistance here. You get a first entry short. Let's see if this uptrend will retest. And it does get a retest. Now we get a second entry short. Unfortunately, 3 bullish bars, closing a little bit above that support level and above the EMA, and the bar's weak anyway. So let's see, maybe we can push back below, get a lower high, turning at this level. And no, we push a little bit above that support, that resistance level. Now we're coming lower, and now we get this lower high. This one's pretty tempting. I think this is a pretty good trade. I'll tell you why. The uptrend has a break and retest. You got 2 clear legs up here. This is probably going to want to retest. Let's see if there's anything wider as well. No, I don't think there's a wider channel here. Doesn't fit all that great. But this local channel right here is going to likely want to retest. Prices were so strong here they couldn't even get back to the EMA. This is the first gap above the EMA. Very often after a strong trend, the first gap above the EMA will lead to one more retest of the recent low, and vice versa for uptrends. So you're probably going lower here with that nice of a bar. Turning right at this resistance level as well. So I think that's a good trade. Works nicely. Got a little micro downtrend here. Bouncing in this general area. Okay, and then it sells off lower again. This could be seen as a failure, but it's moved a bit far to consider that a failure, and you're getting close to these lows, so I wouldn't consider that. Still chopping lower. Now all of our stuff is more local stuff has played out. That doesn't look valid. So we may be transitioning back into a range or a retracement since we came off the low of this channel anyway. Looks like maybe a little range forming here. Just a little bit lower on the support probably. Just chopping sideways, nothing through here. And that range low did hold. Let's see if we turn back up at the highs. Obviously a little micro channel here. It looks like it's got to break a new high. Turns right at that resistance there. I think I'd still probably want to wait on a lower high because this is, like a third entry. And you don't get good rejection here, so now a lower high is not even as tempting. But it ends up holding. No good bars. And now it turns back at the midline. This is just chopping. It's hard to know. Just extend this all the way. So we turn here. Okay, now we get a lower high. Really back inside that resistance level. But it's kind of unclear to me. Maybe this is the resistance. I don't know. You're selling right into that EMA, so it's difficult. With that nice of a bar after the uptrend's clearly played out with bias being so bearish, it's probably going to work. It doesn't actually trigger, so I definitely wouldn't take it. It would have worked. Pushes lower. Looks like we've got a downtrend in play here. Pushing lower. Let's see if the support level holds. Just a first entry short. First entry short again. Just chops lower. First entry again. Now this downtrend has a break, new low. Now we get 3 strong bullish bars pushing back into that support level, above that support level, excuse me. Appears all your more local stuff has played out. So let's see if we can get some range rules, or a trade with some range rules going here. We get a first entry, and now we get a second entry long. This uptrend was strong enough right here to probably want to retest these 3 or 4 strong bullish bars. You're back inside that support level. It's also a failed second entry short, second entry long. Fortunately, the bar is not very good. I think if you took this on the engulfing entry, it's a candidate. It's a little bit sideways, but you can kind of see we broke out of that congestion and came back and tested that area. So if you took engulfing on this, I think it's decent, but I would not take that after it closes. And it would have worked. You get that retest leg. Now the retest leg is rather large in and of itself, so it may be a wider trend. And let's see if this ends up holding. You get a first entry. Looks like maybe a little close outside. These lows down here are equal, so you could draw it from any of them. And that still holds right there. So keeping in mind this is still range rules here, but we'll see if this uptrend holds. Comes back strongly to the EMA. You get a first entry. This micro downtrend here. Probably going to want to retest these 3 strong bearish bars. And now we turn off this on a lower high. It's kind of unclear to me if we're going to retest or not. Coming off the range highs, but we did break out a little bit momentarily. The micro downtrend's pretty strong. And then this uptrend may still want to retest. So there's a lot of conflicting biases through this area. So I'd probably just wait. You get this failed second entry long, bad setup bar right into the support area. So I don't think that's a good trade. The local stuff has appeared to have played out unless this ends up being wider, but we don't know that yet. So I wouldn't take that. You get this little higher low, but it doesn't trigger. And now it is chopping lower. The retest leg's a lot longer than the trend itself, so it looks like something wider is probably valid, and that is holding rather well. Let's see, pushing lower, you get this nice bar, but you know, we got the downtrend going, so no way. First entry short. Let's see if we can get a second entry short at the EMA. And we don't. It just dumps right there. You get the break, new low. So now we need to wait. Just chopping sideways, nothing here. EMA still holding, but notice the pushes are not as strong. And like I said, your downtrend's played out. So just chopping, nothing crazy. It looks like maybe we could draw a little range right here. You actually get a, I gave away the answer already that it works, but you actually get this triple test right here, but with the 3 strong bearish bars, and not really any rejection yet from this level, I'd be wary of that. It's also a doji, so I would not take that. You can see that it ends up working, but no trade there. If you got a really strong bar, you know, maybe, but even still, not really that much of a clear test yet on such a big downhill day. So it would have worked. So we got the micro uptrend working. Down to the EMA, first entry. Sells off again. Looks like maybe downtrend has an overshoot. Could drop from the lower high. Let's do that. Oftentimes the case in range behavior. Pushes higher. Got a break from it. Still pushing higher. Just kind of unclear through here. Could be testing this previous range resistance. And it does turn right at that level. just sideways stuff. It's really hard to know what's happening in here. And so this appears to be the retest leg of this. It's the second leg down. It is a pretty strong move in and of itself, but notice we're bouncing right at that level. Looks like hard to know if this is a close outside yet. And now we get this bar right at that level again. This one's really tempting. Looking back, I think it's a bit too aggressive. I'll be honest, I took this in real time. But I think it's just not all that clear that this downtrend right here is played out. It is a bounce at that support level, but it's also got that new low there, and it's just against the bias. So for that reason, I do think this one's too aggressive. You can see it would have worked nicely, but maybe with a different bias for the day, locally this would be a lot better, but just so downhill today, I think you got to be careful. We have been going sideways for a little while here, so that's one thing to consider, but if this looked clearly like 2 legs down rather than just the strong leg right here, I think it'd be a better setup, but not really getting rejection there anyway. There is no doji in there, so that's something to consider until after the trade triggers, of course, but I think it's probably something you want to wait on. Pushes higher here. Looks like maybe our resistance has migrated to right at this level. Pushes back down again. See if this uptrend retest. And we turn right here, but we get a higher high. So no setup there probably. It would have worked. And now EMA appears to be holding. Making higher highs. Or excuse me, higher lows. Just chopping higher. Maybe something like this. Let's keep an eye on it. Looks like a break, a new high. You can see it's just continuing. Let's see what happens at the EMA. So I think you could widen this slightly and still get it to fit. Yeah, you can. So I think that this is a decent channel. Notice we turn right at that key entry point. But to me, we haven't shown the EMA to be resistance. It is also at this resistance level here. But we haven't proven that the EMA is not support yet because this move up here was rather strong. So let's wait. Maybe we get a lower high here. Fortunately, it bounced at the EMA first, though. Gets a new high. So this appears to have a break, a new high, and we slam right through that key entry point there. Not too surprising, given how bullish this was here. We come back here. Micro downtrend in play. We actually get a second entry here, but this micro downtrend is pretty clear. And you've got to break a new high from this, so I think that's a bit too risky. And it would have stopped you. If it did it trigger? Yeah, it did trigger, so it would have stopped you out. We get this trade. This is an inside, well, not an inside bar, but it doesn't tick lower there. But it does appear that this downtrend has broken. So let's see here. We bounce at this level. Maybe some little small range here. This now has an attempt at a retest, this downtrend that is. 3 strong bullish bars, so no selling yet. And now we get this triple test. This does have a break new high, but locally this looks more like a range. Notice also EMA held here, and so this is the first gap below that EMA. Often will lead to, like I mentioned earlier, a retest of the extreme again. So I think this is a good trade right here. Clearly V shapes through here. Your downtrend now has the retest attempt, and triple test right there with a nice bar. It's also testing this range resistance now, appearing to be acting as support for several swings here. So trade works nicely, gets the retest. Pushing higher. First entry. Draw this here. Nothing through here, just chopping sideways. Our more local context is all played out, so we need to just wait. Coming back to this support level. Got a micro downtrend working. Holding, but not showing rejection. Pushing higher. Get a higher low here. Fortunately, closing right below that EMA. So I don't think you can take that. Now you get a failure, but your micro downtrend is played out, it appears, or excuse me, your micro uptrend is played out. It would have worked, but it's hard to know that. Pushes higher again. This looks like maybe a larger range right in here. Also, you can see these higher highs here. There may be some kind of spike in channel through here. Let's see. That actually fits pretty well. It's really shallow, so you know these can still be traded both ways, but it does look like it's fairly valid. Turns right off that resistance as well. You get a first entry long, and this retest leg was also rather large, so there may be something through here. Looks like maybe an overshoot on it. Regardless, it's hard to know. This one's not all that clear. So let's see. We do get that second entry long, but like I said, it's not all that clear. We're coming off the highs, and this just appears this local trend has probably played out. It would have worked, but you know, in my opinion, a little difficult to know the context here. Comes back. You actually get what appears to be a triple test, but now we're coming off that resistant, or excuse me, the upper trend line again. This strong of a little micro downtrend. I think you got to wait. Doesn't trigger anyway. That one also doesn't trigger. Push up. So this support is still holding even on the triple test. We're kind of breaking through this level, so I'm going to pull that back. Play this more local one. So now we've got a break from this micro downtrend and a large first entry. And now we get a second entry testing that level once again, also testing the midline. You know, we've come off this upper side twice, but when you get a test of support 4 times like that, pay attention to it, especially when we trade it up into this range. Notice each bounce progressively got stronger or pretty close to getting stronger. So bounce here, fairly strong, stronger move here. Didn't go quite as high here, but still 3 strong bullish bars. And then you get the retest attempt of this downtrend. So I think this is a great trade. Your uptrend has played out, but you know you're still wanting to go higher here. You're just playing the range rules. It does back up, and now it would have worked. So it would have scared you for sure there. In real time, I did not expect this to back up that much, but it ends up working still. So it pushes higher. Now it appears this spike in channel gets an overshoot. This is probably, you know, your second leg up. So right here you get a break, 2-legged correction, leg up, 2-legged correction, and then your last leg up here. Yes, and it sells off strongly. So since we're the larger context now is we have a failed breakout of this little range here, strong micro trend, and a possible overshoot of this. You don't want to take anything off support just yet. And it ends up pushing lower, way lower. This could be a wider channel, and it appears to fit pretty well. Maybe a little overshoot here, but not all that clear. See if we get a second entry short here. Do have a little micro uptrend playing, so we need a really good bar, and you get an inside bar that triggers it. I wouldn't take a failure here yet because this downtrend is really strong. And now you get this lower high here. Unfortunately, by the time it forms, it's just congested. It triggers, you know, on the engulfing, and it's forming above that EMA. Micro uptrend's possibly still in play now, just with the first break now. So unfortunately, it's a little bit aggressive locally. And it looks like you would have actually survived it. Your lower high, unfortunately, here is not a good bar. It chops lower, bounces at this level here. Hard to know what's happening. You get a higher low, but the EMA just held somewhat, so just chopping sideways, nothing through here. Appears maybe there's a small little range that we're breaking out of as I speak. Uptrend here. And notice after this overshoot of the spiking channel, we retraced more than the entire spiking channel, so I wouldn't expect this to probably retest. We could just keep going sideways here, but I wouldn't be expecting a retest on this after this strong move down here. You get a lower high, but this strong move up may want to retest. Just chopping sideways, nothing through here. Ends up pushing lower, so you can probably abandon that idea. At the support now, but clearly some kind of channel. It may have a break in new low already. Get a second entry short here, but right. right near this support here, very sideways. I wouldn't take that. Would have worked. You get this bounce at support, but notice the lower low here and doesn't trigger anyway. It's hard to know what's happening in this area. There may be some wider channel. Let's see. That fits decently. Let's see if it holds. Get a different color. There we go. And you can see it does hold rather nicely. A little odd. That may fit better right there. Yeah, that looks nice. So let's see if we can get a second entry short. And we get a first entry, pushes through. And unfortunately, the second entry short is a little inside bar above the EMA. So no setup there. Would have worked. Just chopping sideways again. Little range here. Keep making it the same color on accident. There we go. Nothing through here. Finally get a higher low that bounces here, but it's just so sideways. And we can see we're still making lower lows overall, so I don't think you want to take that. Would have worked, but now we're just mid-range chopping, so nothing here in my opinion. Now we get 5 strong bullish bars, or 4 strong ones. We may break out of here, and it appears we are. Let's see if we can get a second entry along with the EMA after a move like this. This still fits pretty well. Just a first entry. Actually, it didn't even trigger, so no trigger yet even on that. Now we get a first entry below that EMA, so we got to be careful. This downtrend right here was fairly strong. Get a break from it. Just chopping sideways. Just nothing through here. You get the new low now. Maybe some little range here. Uptrend's probably still going to want to retest, but we need to play the local stuff just to make sure. Breaks out. There's just nothing here. We need something off this support a little bit more clearly. Probably has a triple test. Maybe this is the resistance. You get this like higher low, but so sideways there. And it's really just the second test. So let's see, maybe we can get a triple test. Bounces back up. This bar is a little bit tempting, but you got this downtrend in play. Need a really nice bar to consider this, and you can see we made the lower low there. You actually get a doji bar right after, but you're still in that downtrend. I think you got to be a little careful there. It would have worked. Let's see if we come back to that resistance or support one more time and get a higher low. And we do get the higher low right here. And this is actually, you ticked higher here, so this is actually a second entry long. Really, really nice bar for the higher low. Bouncing right at this support. It does close close to the middle. I think if you wanted to take the engulfing bar on this, I think it's decent. You attempted that retest at the low, and if you watch this form, it ticked lower and just instantly reversed up. It is congested, so it makes the engulfing bar a little bit risky, but with this little bearish bar right here, it's probably going to trap shorts. Still expecting that retest, and you've still got room to the highs. Yes, it closes in the middle if you wait for the close, but at that point, it's also a very strong bar. So either way, maybe you let it close, tick above, and drop a limit, and you can see you probably wouldn't have gotten filled on the limit, but it works nicely. Pushes to the highs. Just chopping sideways. I wouldn't consider a short, especially right here with no rejection. That retest is probably going to happen here. Now it's pushing higher. Chopping sideways. Or excuse me, chopping higher. You get the new high now. So, and actually that's also 330. So, yeah, a lot of price action today. Hope you guys stuck with the whole video. Didn't get too bored. It was a lot to go through. So yeah, let's take a look at the overall day. We got this break from this downtrend, but like I said, it was so shallow, it actually never got that retest. Ended up just folding over into a very, very sideways day after, you know, about 11 o'clock. It's like maybe just a bigger range. Very, very big range there. So even to be such a downhill day, still got several good long opportunities once it kind of transitioned into that range. So just to go over these one more time. Yeah, the second entry short here. Maybe you consider that one right before. Let me go to my mouse. If you trusted the wider channel, it was harder for me to trust that at the time, but you confirmed it right here. It's a shame we couldn't get this bar right here because that be a red mark for sure instead of green. But it works nicely. Just kind of chops sideways, pushes lower here. You get this downtrend. Then you get the retest leg. That's a spiking channel in and of itself. 2 legs back, pushes back below the resistance, lower high. I think that's a decent trade. Chop sideways. All your downtrends get retested. Maybe besides this rather large one. Pushes strongly above the EMA. You get the second entry long if you took that on the engulfing. You get this uptrend here. EMA continues to hold after the first break. So you get the first gap below the EMA with a triple test, a great bar. I think that's a decent one. Then you get kind of a similar looking setup here. Your uptrend's retested already, but you get a quadruple test with a really, really great bar there. Also a second entry long. Let's see, and then you get kind of another similar setup here. This one's a higher low. Closes a little bit close to the middle, but really nice bar there. Expecting a retest of this trend. So several long opportunities on this chart. On that second chart I watched, there was a couple more shorts through here. Decent ones. So either way, hope you guys enjoyed that. If you're interested in trading like we do, check out our website, topicktrading.com. Check out our course taught by our mentor, Eric. And yeah, y'all have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Bye.